Hey guys, Dizzler Magic here, and another batch of awesome unstable spoilers are out, and they revealed the second major mechanic. But I'll leave that for the second part of the video. Let's talk about the new cards that don't involve the new mechanic. First, we've got Amateur Outure, I guess. I have no idea what that is. It's a 2/2 for 2, and sacrifice Amateur whatever, destroy target enchantment. Alright. Well, anyway, this is just a functional card to make the draft seem fair and to balance the set out. So if you ever needed evidence that they do that to pretty much every set, and people are like, oh, what's this dummy jank card? It's for the purposes of draft, trust me. Next up, we've got a turtle parakeet with 2 heads. Better than 1. Alright. For 2 mana as a sorcery, a person outside the game becomes your teammate. How's that going to work? Let's read it. Choose any number of cards in your hand on top of your library or on the battlefield under your control. Those cards become your teammate's hand, library, and permanents respectively. So you can split your hand, but not redraw 7. Split your library, let's see. Can you look at it though? No, they say on top of your library. But I don't think you can look at them, but it doesn't say you can't. I mean, the proper phrasing in Magic would be to say, choose a number, and then, use that many. Now, the other thing is, okay, on the battlefield under your control, cool. But what does teammate mean? Are we talking it's multiplayer and there's just an alliance between you? Or is it two-headed giant? And do you split the life total? I'm going to guess no. So lots of confusion. Can't wait to read the rulings on this card. Seriously, I'm going to need to before I play this. Also, if this is like a full-blown draft tournament, where are you going to go get somebody else? So overall, I mean, it's neat, it's novel, but it's kind of dumb and not very functional. And it's a waste of a rare slot, so good job, Wizards. Next up, we've got by Gnome Means, not by no means. Of course, it's an enchantment and costs 3, it's a rare. You pay 2, remove a counter from a permanent you control, and create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. Ooh, I have been waiting for gnomes. Gnome tribal, gnome token dump. Love it. You pay 2 on the second ability, sacrifice an artifact, choose any kind of counter a printed card refers to, then put one of that counter on target permanent. So that'll be interesting for Planeswalker, which, spoiler alert, there's 2 in this set. We don't know, I was going to say we don't know what they look like. One's actually like a jester, so I guess we do know what it looks like. I'll leave the details till it's actually spoiled. I don't want to ruin it too much for you guys. But I'm mentioning that because loyalty counters. Now the thing is, it says, choose a kind of counter a printed card refers to. I don't think that Planeswalkers technically refer to loyalty counters. Now, if you were to read, Scroll of the Masters or whatever, it says charge counters. So whether this will truly work with loyalty, I don't know. Because it could be argued that, +2, that's shorthand for add 2 loyalty counters to this permanent. They just didn't write it out. So that will actually be really interesting because that could be game dominating if you could start increasing the loyalty counters artificially. Next up, we've got one of the greatest name cards ever, and it's a T-Rex with chicken legs. That's just fantastic. Dr. Julius Jumblemorph. Of course. What else would you name him? I love the drawings on the chalkboard, by the way. So it states that Dr. Julius Jumblemorph is every creature type, which, believe it or not, there are legal cards, multiple of them that say this. Not just pick one, they are all that type. In fact, that's actually a mechanic. I think it's shapeshifter, morph something, I don't remember. Anyway, whenever a host enters the battlefield under your control, which you'll see what hosts are in a second, you may search your library and or graveyard for a card with augment, and combine it with that host. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. So that's pretty awesome. So he can help you get the whole host and augment thing going. You basically just have to get the host out there, and then whatever the perfect match is for it, you just go get it almost regardless of wherever it is. So if your entire deck is built around that mechanic, you would definitely auto-include him in the draft. Otherwise, I mean, he's a 4/4 for 4. He's still all right. Next up, amazing artwork. We've got Druid of the Sacred Beaker. Oh boy, he's a deer bird ape druid, which if you look at the artwork, I can confirm that. You can add 1 green mana to your mana pool for each Crossbreed Labs watermark among permanents you control. Oh boy, it's the new Gaia's Cradle, except it's a deer bird ape druid. Now see, if they would have stuck with just deer, ape, druid, and not added bird, it could have been dab for short, and then the flavor text could have been dab on the haters. So this is sheer power, considering Crossbreed Labs is pretty much green, and your whole deck is probably going to be mono or pretty darn close to it, I would estimate, in these particular drafts. And yeah, that could be 4 or 5, 6 mana. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. It doesn't even have to be creatures. So being an uncommon, if you see this, grab it. I mean, this is just absurdly powerful. Speaking of draft, we have a card that is literally called First Pick. It's a 4-cost instant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, assemble a contraption. I guess they were trying to go for like an ironic angle here because this absolutely would not be my first pick at all. I mean, it wouldn't even go in my main deck. Next up, oh my god, I love it, Hydradoodle. That's right, it's half Hydra, half, well, what would that be? Poodle, I guess? I don't know where the D comes from, because Doodle is like... But then they call Golden Retrievers Golden Doodles, and they seem to be adding a letter there as well. This is kind of odd. Either way, it's a Hydra Poodle, and I love it. So it's a green double X, and as Hydradoodle enters the battlefield, roll X 6-sided dice. Hydradoodle enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of, or the total of those results. It also has reach and trample. Thank God, I'm sick of Hydras not having that. So remember, the whole double X thing still goes. So if you say X equals 2 because I want to roll 2 6-sided dice, well, guess what? You got to pay 6 mana for that. So this ain't like exactly endless one, but I mean, if you have the mana, like, you know, that giant mana generator that I just talked about, if you could do X equals 6, I mean, oh, that would be 14 mana. That seems a little bit unrealistic. X equals 3. Okay. That would be 8 mana. That sounds more doable. That could be a lot. Now, the average result on a 6-sided die, I believe, is 3.5. Everybody thinks it's 3, but then it's like inclusive of 1 or something, so I do believe it's 3.5. A better way to do it is maybe, okay, you got 1 and 6, then it could be 2 and 5, it could be 3 and 4. Oh, whoops, what's in the middle? 3.5. So 3.5 times 3 is 10.5, so you would get 10.5 counters on average on this. Yeah, that would be nice. So next up, we've got another contraption. I love the borderless artwork on this. Oh my gosh. It's inflatable station. Whenever you crank inflatable station, target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn, because apparently if you fill it full of air, it becomes more powerful. I mean, I guess slightly more massive, though less dense in most cases. Next up, we've got Shellephant, which is an elephant in a turtle shell, which is the most unstoppable, strongest, most powerful, super armored African mutant creature you could ride into battle ever. Yep. It costs 3. It's a creature and it's a turtle and or elephant. All right. So for 0, choose one. You may activate this ability while Shellephant is in any zone. Oh God. So Shellephant has base power and toughness 1/4, or Shellephant has base power and toughness 3/3. It doesn't specifically say it, but I think it's implied that it would then be a turtle or an elephant, but then it says and. So it's and or. I don't really get that, but I'm sure, I mean, nothing really references it by subtype anyway. So honestly, for 3, this just isn't a very good creature at all. I mean, I'm sure there's something very specific in the set that, like, this benefits from changing its power and toughness or whatever. I mean, flipping it on the fly would be cool because it could get targeted by a 3 damage spell and, oh, you flip it, now it's a turtle, and then it takes the damage, boom, you flip it back. So that's pretty sweet, but let's take a look at another card that has Shellephant in it. Side Quest. Apparently they're big fans of boating. It costs 1, it's a sorcery. Target player in a silver bordered game you can see from your seat. Thank God they're resurrecting that mechanic. Gains control of target creature you control until your next turn. At the beginning of your next upkeep, put 2 1/1 counters on that creature. So basically, you look over to a game that you can see from your seat. Never says that you can't stand up, but it's kind of implied. And that player in that game gains control of target creature you control until your next turn. So you'd almost have to break the rules about stalling in order to get them to use it. Now, if they wanted to block with it, no problem. You know, do it in the middle of combat, whatever. But if you were to try to cast this, you know, during their upkeep or something, they wouldn't be able to swing with it because it would have It's a long story, but basically summoning sickness. You just wouldn't call it that. So they would have to take like 3 total turn cycles in the time that it takes you to get back to the beginning of your turn, at which time you would get your creature back. But you can't just sit there and say, oh, hold on, I'm waiting, because that's like super not within the rules. And yes, I know this is going to attract even more comments about deaths. You're taking this way too seriously. I play to win, and I also like following the rules. Next up on the list of things that should be actual things in actual standard sets, Super-Duper Death Ray. Okay, maybe not that specifically, but it's a spell with trample. Now remember, they gave spells lifelink recently. Okay, Grand Fire Master, whatever that was, or Monastery Mentor is one of those two. Yeah, so it says this spell can deal excess damage to its target's controller. Now the whole, oh, does it have to be lethal, this and that, you know, those rules don't exist, but I'm sure they're implied. So it deals 4 damage to target creature, which is already pretty good. I mean, for 3, that's not bad, especially as an instant. And then anything past lethal, I guess, can trample past to the opponent. So this is awesome. I love it. It needs to be a thing, because I'm sick of like watered down red cards that can hit a creature or a player, but because of that there's sorcery and it does like 3 damage for 3 mana. Ooh, wow, what a great spell. Or you get like an amazing instant like Roast. Didn't that do like 4 or 5 damage or something to like a non-flying creature? Oh, but you can't use it to hit the player. You know, so you just can't have the best of both worlds, except for this. This would be a perfect compromise. You have a red spell that deals a lot of damage. It cannot directly target the player, but if you have a little bit of excess overflow damage, you could hit the player with it, so you might still get something out of it. I love that, and the closest we've got is Rolling Thunder. I mean, that pretty much is that, but with slightly different rules. So anyway, I love this card. This is removal. Remember, in a draft, removal is very important. Just draft this card if you see it. It is amazing. So this video is really long already, so I'm going to kick the augment and host mechanic and new cards into the next video. And that'll be an explanation of the rules and how it works and that kind of stuff. Some of the rules don't work the way you think, so you're definitely going to want to check out that video. So watch for that very shortly, and I'll see you guys next video.